Hi, I'm Alex Edmonson. I'm a private chef here in Calgary, and I've cooked all over the world, so we're gonna show you something that I've learned. It's a roasted duck. So it's super easy. I've pre-dry aged this duck here. It's super easy to do. You just get a pot of water, fill it with salt, get your duck, remove the legs, which we've already done here before. You can see it's just the breasts. You're gonna dunk it into the salted water. Maybe you can add a little bit of vinegar too, and then you're gonna place it on a cookie sheet like this, and you're basically gonna put it back in your fridge for minimum 24 hours, up to 10 days. This one is a 10-day one, so it's gonna get nice and crispy. So we're gonna roast it. To roast a duck, I like to put the wings behind. The wings themselves have been removed. It kind of just props it up to make a natural funnel for the fat to come off. And we're gonna apply lots of honey to the skin. The honey is gonna help the salt stick to the skin. It's gonna make it nice and crispy, nice and seasoned. So let's start with that. We're gonna add a nice generous amount of honey. I have a pastry brush that we're just gonna help smooth it on all parts of the skin. You wanna coat the whole thing evenly. All right, now we're gonna place our salt onto our duck. I'm gonna put a generous amount just because duck is really fatty. It actually requires a lot more salt than, say, chicken to counteract that fat. And the honey makes the salt stick to it really nicely. I have a separate tray here for the duck. I'm just gonna transfer it over. And this is gonna go into our oven at 450 for only 5 minutes, and then we're gonna rotate it. While our duck is cooking, we're gonna cook the sides. So we're gonna make a little potato salad, some pickled Saskatoon berries. So we have a pickling liquid that we have to start. To make the perfect pickling liquid, you want vinegar, salt, sugar, and water. A nice little ratio. This one has a high ratio of sugar just to help sweeten up the Saskatoon berries, and it'll go really nice with the duck. We've got water, salt and sugar. You can see it's quite a bit of sugar. And vinegar. Just gonna bring this to a boil. Next, our potatoes are gonna go into a pot filled with water. Just adding a pinch of salt, generous pinch of salt to my potatoes. One more thing we're going to add to our duck dish is a celery root puree. So celery root is literally the root of celery. It has lots of little roots and nooks and crannies, so we need to peel it before we need to cook it. You can see it's nice and white flesh on the center there. You can use a vegetable peeler, or you can also peel it with your knife. I'm just gonna peel it with my knife today. That's our duck timer. Smells incredible. Just gonna rotate this around. See, a lot of the honey is coming off, starting to caramelize. That's gonna go back in just for another 8 minutes. Once your celery root is peeled, we're gonna just dice it into little pieces. So to make our celery root puree, we're gonna add our diced celery root, a little bit of butter and salt, and that's it. It's just 3 ingredients. It's gonna be nice and silky. We're gonna cook it down until it's nice and soft, and then blend it. Adding a generous amount of butter here. It's about 1/4 cup. On medium heat, a little bit of salt. For our pickling liquid, I'm just gonna give it a nice stir to melt that salt and sugar. Now that our pickling liquid's come to a boil, I'm just gonna pour it over our Saskatoon berries. This is a quick pickle. Using as much liquid as you need just to cover up the berries. You're going to get more flavor maturation if you do the pickles earlier. But typically you can do it quick pickle like this. It's ready to go in about 10 minutes. Just adds a nice little acidity and it breaks the richness of the duck. Okay, our duck should be done. It's normal for the honey to caramelize a little bit. We're just gonna let that sit here. We're gonna let the duck rest now for 15 minutes minimum. You want all those juices to seal into the duck. And then we're gonna add a little bit more honey just to finish it off and some pink peppercorn and bee pollen. So bee pollen is a really interesting crunchy ingredient that adds a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of floralness, lots of B vitamins in here, that's why it's nice and yellow. But it goes really well with the duck, and as well as some smashed pink peppercorn. Nice and floral, it smells almost sweet. Also goes great with the honey, the duck, the Saskatoon berries, it goes really well. Just gonna place the duck onto a new sheet so it's not sitting on the caramelized honey. Just giving my celeriac a stir here, just to make sure it's evenly coated with the butter. And a good old stir for our potatoes. While our potatoes cook and our duck rests, I'm just going to chop a small shallot for our potato salad. Next, we're gonna chop some dill, also for our potato salad. I like to roll up my herbs nice and tight. It keeps it from spreading out, and it's a lot easier to cut, whether it's parsley, dill, chive, and you can kind of just glide your knife over your pile of herbs. Now that our celeriac is boiling rapidly, I'm just going to turn it down just to like a medium low. I'm gonna check my potatoes here too. Not quite there. Last but not least, for our potato salad, I've just got some pickled onion here. I'm gonna chop that up as well. Only need about a 1/4 cup. The pickled onion is gonna add a nice little acidity to the potato salad to help season it. I'm just gonna turn off my potatoes. They're ready to go. I'm gonna check my celery root one last time here. Looking for it to be as tender as our potatoes. Not quite there, we need maybe another minute or two. While that's rolling, I'm just gonna add our last little amount of honey onto our duck, our bee pollen, and our pink peppercorn. So our potatoes, I'm just gonna drain our water here. I'm gonna turn off our celery root and we're gonna blend it. You're gonna wanna use a high-powered blender like a Vitamix just to make it nice and smooth. And I've got a little water here just in case the puree is nice and thick, so we'll use it to thin out our puree. So I'm just gonna put the puree back into a pot just to help us serve it. So I just have a little bit of butter here. The pot that we cooked the potatoes in, I'm gonna add this butter. And we're just gonna slightly saute the shallots and throw our potatoes back in there with a little bit of salt. And last but not least, I'm gonna add our chopped dill. So I'm just gonna turn that off and let that sit, all the flavors meld together. While we're waiting for our potatoes, we're gonna carve our duck. To carve a duck, it's much like chicken. We're just gonna take the breasts right off the bone. Once the breasts are off, I'm just trimming off any excess fat. And then we're gonna do one last flash in the oven just to reheat it. Our duck is just about done. I'm gonna put our celery root puree down first to plate up. Next, our potato salad, just a little bit. I have a slotted spoon so it drains the liquid because we don't want all that vinegar. Just to finish it off, a little bit of gravy. And that's it. And there we have our honey roasted duck with potato salad, celery puree, and pickled Saskatoon berries. Enjoy.